And coming to the stage, folks, is the one and the only Patrick Frazier. Yeah, please give him a big hand of applause. Ah, yeah, we love macroeconomics, international economics rules. Enough applause, people. Enough applause, people. It's all about where the beef is. Even though that's Burger King. Show me the beef. And that's what I'm here to do. Show you the beef. Why is it important to trade with the rest of the world? Well, the quick answer is that you meet the nicest people in a Honda. Why do you meet the nicest people in a Honda? Well, think back to the founders of Honda who were originally told by Toyota that they were not good enough to be an engineer for them, either one of them. So they went and found Honda. They had a race bike. They had a great race bike. They went to Germany to take it on a tour. They saw that there was an unexploited niche in the market that no one was fulfilling. The upwardly mobile German would go from a bicycle to a bicycle with a clip-on motor to some kind of moped to a bubble car to an actual car. But a motorcycle with 50 cc cubic centimeters, the Super Cup, was the answer. A motorcycle so versatile that you could carry soda noodles on it in Tokyo, Japan. That was the answer, folks. And they made a lot of money doing it. And they sold it around the world. But when they went to the USA, they thought, well, there's the Harley Davidson. We'll compete with something compatible with the Harley Davidson. Wrong! They had such a euphoric reception to the same Super Cup at their marketing headquarters in San Francisco that they realized the hipster of the time was an unfulfilled market, and they started selling the Super Cup. The rest is history. BMW found themselves in the middle of a saturated market where their business was luxury cars, so they went to the USA. Real simple. Now, what color would you like your refrigerator to be? Most people here in the United States say red, or do not say red, excuse me. They'll say white or they'll say black. But why not a bright red refrigerator? That's a great idea. Why not a bright blue refrigerator? What if your kitchen and your living room bled into each other? What if you were entertaining? You wanted to show that you were keeping up with the Joneses? And you got a status symbol, a bright blue refrigerator. Why not? And what do you call the Big Mac in India? That's right, it's the Maharaja Mac because it's not made out of beef. So it's to signal that this is not going to violate your Hindu beliefs in a country that has a very large Hindu population. What do you call a quarter pounder in Paris? That's right, it's the Royale with cheese. You're right, sir. You saw Pulp Fiction. Give that man a round of applause. He saw a good movie. Now, why does the Big Mac Index matter? And that's what we're talking about. It's the Big Mac Index. Well, what is the Big Mac Index? The Big Mac Index is the price of the Big Mac, let's say in the United States. Could be another country, but that's the home currency. You divide it by the price of the Big Mac somewhere else, like Paris or London, wherever. Boom. You get an idea of what the real exchange rate is. The market has a lie. The market's not perfect. Don't believe everything you hear. Then if you take this implied purchasing power parity that you get from the Big Mac Index and then take the difference between that, folks, and the actual exchange rate and divide it again by the implied purchasing power parity that, again, you derived from the Big Mac Index, well, then you get an idea of whether or not a particular currency is undervalued or overvalued. Speaking of which, in China, we see that, it might be really overvalued, and there's a reason for that. They buy a lot of foreign debt to ratchet down the price tag, the real price tag on their currency, because they want to continue with a weak currency. Why do they want to do that? Why would you want a strong currency versus a weak currency? A lot of people say weak, strong dollar, right? Sounds good, strong America. It is a good idea if you're a tourist. You want your dollar to go further when you go abroad, traveling in Europe or whatever, right? And I mean, let's be honest, a lot of companies here in the US are not exporters, they're importers. So if you make something in another country, especially like a big car, like Ford does and even Tesla does, then yeah, a strong dollar is really good because it's going to be more affordable when you bring your profits home. And by the way, if you do your Big Mac Index right, or some more sophisticated version thereof, you could make a lot of money from arbitrage. That's another reason why the Big Mac Index matters. But what we're talking about is why you want to trade. So we know that China is cheating. So why play the game? Why not close ourselves off? You know, the ostrich had a pretty good idea. There's a lot of dirt around here. I could just sink my head into the ground. Why don't I do that? Why doesn't that work? You know, love him or hate him, and I'm not a big fan, but you know what Richard Nixon did when he went to China? He sacrificed the Rust Belt to win checkmate in nearly half a decade. Now, the game we're playing takes decades, maybe centuries to win, but we will win. Why will we win? Because what we have is not just this idea that, oh, we're confident. No, that's not enough. That is not enough. That is never, ever enough to simply be confident. No, it's not about faking until you make it. It's about a culture of experimentation. And that is our ace in the hole. That is why we will win. That is why we will win checkmate. So, the Chinese know, they know that if they continue to ratchet down that price tag at such an unaffordable, unsustainable discount, they'll break the system like an overheated engine. And that's what the US did, by the way, in the 19th century, along with France. And they don't want to do that. That's why their whole strategy is all about moving, transitioning to a consumer economy. And that's why we will win checkmate. But what are we going to sell them? Well, think about the innovations that are flowering today. Think about that. So whereas the so-called Red Queen's race was once played out on the contours of a Silk Road that connected Dubai with London and the rest of the world, today we play this game on a three-dimensional chessboard. Only made possible because of the gains we made in the 1990s thanks to an internet and computer revolution that, for all intents and purposes, started a decade earlier. And today, as we witness everything from the Internet of Things to the aggregation of big data in the hands of small business owners, just-in-time delivery in the hands of consumers, by the way, advanced robotics and drone technology, 3D printing, you name it. The privatization of space all begin to bear fruit. The doors of opportunity are opening wider and wider. So whereas Milton Friedman said that inflation was more money chasing less goods, what we need to worry about right now is deflation, where you have fewer and fewer assets fetching smaller and smaller returns. We've got to be innovative. We've got to think outside the box. That is our answer to really have the kind of economic recovery that we want to pass on to our children and blah, 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 right? And really, really to think outside the box and win this game, to win checkmate. Ultimately, just like my old supervisor used to say, that a wolf runs on its stomach and you have to be hungry to be in the game, to run with the pack. But ultimately, you see, when she catches up to her prey, it's her head that holds her fangs in place. And really, if you think about it, the culture of experimentation is really just the kind of innovation that we can all sink our teeth into.